I don't know if I should start how I normally start. I guess so. Hello, hello, Just Gem here, and welcome, or indeed welcome back to my channel. I'm going live today, mainly to give myself a bit of breathing room so I didn't have to sit and edit this. And then I was having my dinner before and I thought to myself, what if no one joins? And I'm like, well, it would just be like you're filming normally because no one is there when you film normally. So it's fine. I won't hang about. I will get cracking because I don't want this to go over an hour, but I can talk for England sometimes, so we'll see how we go. I apologise if my laptop decides that it wants to become a small aircraft and makes some horrific noise. Sometimes it does that. But we'll see how we go. But I've got everything queued up on my laptop and I've scribbled down some notes so I can go through. Oh, hang on, my orientation I think is off. Oh. Yeah, I'll just have to do it this way. There we go. I'll have to fiddle around with it so that I can get the orientation right, because I don't like it this way, but that's for next time. Right, I'm going to get started because otherwise I'll be here all day and no one wants that. I'm going to start with the Lancome Idole Cafe Crush palette, which I think I might have successfully talked myself out of because I filmed a Scratch That Itch earlier, and you'll get a sneak peek. I scratched that itch using the Beauty Bay Rich palette, and I was genuinely about to spend £64 minus the 15% when I thought to myself, you've got the Rich palette, you suspect it'll be a good dupe, just use that. Just use that. And my glasses are covering it, but that's the look. Well, I've got two looks on. But look out for that. That will hopefully go live on Tuesday. Scratch that itch for the Lancome Idole Cafe Crush palette. It is a very nice title and it's a beautiful looking palette. It's really, really stunning. If I could do a little thumbnail and insert it over here, I would. And I'm using my phone, so I can't even attempt to show my phone with the image on there. If I would have a look at the Rich palette, especially, I don't know if it's still going on at the moment, but Beauty Bay were doing 2 for £20, and I was very naughty. I'm reaching back again. I don't think they meant to include botanical when they did that, but they did. So I bought this and another palette. That's for a friend, don't tell her. And since then, as I say, I don't know if the 2 for 20 is still going, but it doesn't include botanical anymore. I think they rectified that mistake because it's a new palette, so it shouldn't have been. So yeah, so that's the Lancome Cafe Crush. I should say, so before I move on any further, one of the things in my last new makeup releases that I said I was going to get was the Wicked Widow Beauty palette. And I've since decided against that one because there were a lot of browns in there that were a bit samey and there weren't enough shimmers for my liking. So I've parked that, but I still think I might want the blush palette, the blush duo. I think so. So I'll see, but I think it's about £33 on Monolith, which seems excessive, so I don't know. I don't know. I'll have a think on that one. Next up, the Tangled collection from Colourpop. This is very well done, I think. This is really well done. I think the palette, generally when I talk about these releases, when it's a collection like this, I'm eyeing the palette. There might be other things that will catch my eye, but generally it's the palette that I'm really paying attention to. And that palette, I think it's called, yeah, it's called Best Day Ever, and that colour story is on point. It's beautiful. Will I buy it? No, because as pretty as it is and as on theme as it is, I could dupe that. I think off the top of my head I could possibly even dupe that with Nomad Fairy Tale Europe, fittingly enough. So I don't think it's one I would get, but credit where credit is due. I think Colourpop have done a really good job with that collection, and everything is really nice. I think the Pascal brush is particularly cute, very cute. um I think that's $12. Yeah, the Best Day Ever palette is 22. The bundle is sold out at the moment, but if you did want to get the entire collection, I think that's going for $99. And I don't think you can use a discount code on a bundle, but if there's any smaller bits, I think the floating lights. What are the floating lights? I didn't write down what they are. I've still got it open here. Floating lights. I don't know what the floating lights are, but wherever they are, they're $10 each. Highlighters 14, gloss is 10, Pascal brush 12. So you can either pick bits off or just get the entire collection. Hi, Makeup Therapy! Colourpop does do Disney really well, actually. I'll give it that. Even like Toy Story, that was really a solid collection as well. And it's one of those, I can appreciate it from a distance and I can say that they've done a good job, but it wouldn't necessarily make me want to rush out and buy it. But having Colourpop as well, they do have some really good formulas that for the price point it's pretty decent, so it's always worth a look at, to be honest. And I think the other reason why I don't tend to go for Colourpop is because of like shipping and taxes over to the UK. So that'll be why I don't necessarily buy from them. But every now and again they do have kind of free shipping promotions. So who knows, maybe down the line, if they have one of those promotions and there's a sale that coincides, the Toy Story palette and the Tangled palette would be two that I would consider. Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, I remember that they had some really cute Winnie the Pooh stuff as well, actually, didn't they? Yeah, they did indeed. They did. So now this is another one that I'm probably going to have to do a very good job of talking myself out of. We'll see. It's the DD Signature Drops of Fantasy palette. And there's also some lip kits that come with the palette. So you can buy an entire lip kit for $14.99 or £11, just the gloss for $9.99, £8, or just the liner for $8.99, £7. And then the palette itself is 36 quid or $48.99. Hey Krisha, welcome. This one, funnily enough, when I first saw it revealed, I wasn't grabbed by it. I didn't think to myself, ooh, I want that. I thought it was quite pretty, but I almost wondered if it was too much. I love a colourful eyeshadow palette, but one can have too much of a good thing. So I did wonder to myself, is that a bit much? Until I started seeing swatches and people using it. Is it justifiable to buy an entire eyeshadow palette just for one shade in there? No. Would I be tempted to buy it just for the yellow in there? Yes. I am on a mission to find the perfect yellow. I love a yellow. But they are difficult to formulate. It's in the powder. Matte, that's the word I'm looking for. Matte yellows are notoriously difficult. A shimmer, easy. But an actual matte that works well is super difficult. So whenever I see a yellow that looks to perform well, my curiosity is piqued. I'm like, ooh, let's have a look at that. So that DD Signature palette, it's looking good. If anyone has any of these things, by the way, do let me know, because I'm curious to know what you think. And especially if you have experience of other palettes by the brand, because DD Signature especially, that's not a brand I've tried yet, so I'd be very curious to know what people think. But yeah, that DD Signature Drops of Fantasy palette, The more I see of that, the more I'm intrigued. Curious to know how much that's going to be on Monolith. So we'll keep an eye out. What else is there? Adept are releasing these cream blushes. I feel like the camera's a bit high. There's a whole big space in front of me. When I thought I was the other way around, it was perfect. Adept blushes. So they've released, it's like a compact, and then each of the blushes is a single. So I think the empty compact is £9 or $10. Oh, I see more people joining. Hello. Yeah, so you can buy the individual pans, and then you've got the compact that you can put it in, and I think it's like a magnetic thing, and you can almost swivel the lid. It looks quite clever, but then it's one of those, would you have to buy the empty case to house all of the blushes, or is it something where, because I just don't know if the blushes would dry out if you didn't have them each in their own individual cases. And then if you did have to buy individual cases for all of them, then that would really rack up, considering that they would be £9 or $10 each. And then the blushes themselves are $22 or was it no, £22 or $26. But they looked really nice. Varying ranges of depths, some of them which I think would look horrific on me, but if you're of a lighter skin tone, I think they would look really nice actually. But the ones that stood out for me were Universal Flush, Prima Donna, and Sunset Glow. And what I'm going to do is, because I obviously don't have the little pictures, it would be nice if I could, because I could put it up there in the dead space. But I'll put links to all of the items in the description box. I discovered I could set this up quite late in the day. So I set up most of it, but I didn't quite get around to being able to put all the links in the description, but they will be once it's up at the end. DD Signature, Great Shimmer and Mattes. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah, definitely. Yellows are so hard. I thought purples are also quite hard to formulate, but I think it's easier to find a nice purple than it is to find a nice yellow. I feel like the problem with yellows is they blend away and there's not enough pigment, but with purples they maybe have the pigment, but they can sometimes be a bit patchy. That's what I tend to find. Fantasy Cosmetica, the Ranger palette. This one caught my eye. Fantasy Cosmetica, I know they do some bigger palettes. So for example, I think it's Harvest of Souls is one of the bigger palettes that they do. And I didn't get that one because someone pointed out that it's actually quite similar to an Artitude Cosmetics palette. Obsession, I think it's Obsession that it looks quite similar to. And I got Obsession when it was on sale just before like the rebrand. So Artitude Cosmetics at the moment, the website's closed just while they're going through the big sort of rebrand. But I skipped on Harvest of Souls even though it caught my eye just because of the similarities. But those 9-pan palettes that they do, those are really nice actually. And the Ranger one is one that did catch my eye. And I think probably because it's got green in there, I love green, but it's also got these beautiful orange tones in there as well. So I think that would be something that I'd be possibly keen to try. Fantasy Cosmetica is another brand as well that I haven't tried yet. It's probably on my try list, but I just haven't got around to it yet. The palette itself is £30, and then if you want to get the shadows as singles individually, they're £8 each. And I want to say that there are nail polishes as well that come with the collection. I don't do nail polish. Normally, I'm fortunate enough to have, I mean, they're uneven at the moment. They look horrific. Probably I shouldn't have shown them to you. But when my nails are even and I've actually trimmed and filed them, they're actually decent. So I could probably just do with like a clear polish. And I don't really like having something, I don't like the feel of nail polish on my fingernails. I don't know, it's a bit odd, but I just don't, I'm not keen on it. Yeah, see, I've heard good things about Fantasy Cosmetica. But then part of me is almost a bit nervous sometimes to try new brands because I don't want to try new brands and then fall in love with them and then want to keep buying things from them. So I'm almost in a bit of a phase where even when I see something from a brand that's new to me, I'm almost reluctant to buy it in case I fall in love and then I just want to keep buying from them. So it's tricky. It's tricky. But Fantasy Cosmetica and DD Signature are definitely kind of the ones that are waiting in the wings. Definitely want to try those. Speaking of new brands, now this is a new brand generally. I mean, obviously they've had a few releases up until this point, but this is their second eyeshadow palette and it's Singe Beauty. Now this one was an interesting one. I saw it that they had that beauty influencer weekend away, that the trip where they have like sponsored activities and whatnot, and Singe Beauty sponsored a dinner that they all attended where they gave everyone Agate Temptation, which is coming out on the 16th of May, and it's going to be the same price as, what was their first one called? I want to say something about cowboy, or it's got some, is it Space Cowboy? If I complete, no, that's not, it's not. Made by Mitchell has got Space Cowboy. Good. What was that palette called? Can anyone remember the Singe Beauty one? It's gone right out of my head. The first one, Cosmic. No, I can't think of what it's called. But it's going to be the same price, $45, 16th of May. And it reminded me, yeah, that's it, the Creators and Friends trip. It reminded me a lot of the Merry Christmas palette from Odin's Eye. But I'm wondering if when the images were first being shown of the, yes, Galactic Visitor, thank you. I was like, I know it had like space and cowboys and all that kind of stuff involved, but I could not think of the name. Galactic Visitor, thank you. Um, I'm glad I'm not the only one, but yeah, it just completely escaped me. I could remember all the theming, just not the name of the palette. What was I saying? Yeah, so when it was first, when all the beauty creators were getting it and they were posting pictures of it, they were all really overly saturated. So it was hard to tell what the true colouring of the palette was. I think it was Erica Tesla who was the first one to show a picture where it wasn't overly warm and super, super saturated. And it looked a little bit less like the Merry Christmas palette from Odin's Eye. But it still gives me those vibes. I think Agate Temptations perhaps more green and more orange, whereas Merry Christmas has obviously got the reds and a bit of gold in there as well. So I don't necessarily know that I'd get Agate Temptation, even though it does actually look quite appealing. Partially for the reasons I've stated before, with not wanting to try a new brand and fall in love, and partially because I think a lot of the vibes and the things I like about the Merry Christmas palette, I could probably get, sorry, from Agate Temptation, I could get from Merry Christmas. So I don't know that I would get that. But maybe Galactic Visitor is something I could go backwards and get. Has anyone tried Galactic Visitor? Yeah, see, that's what I feel as well about Agate Temptation. Like, I look at it and I think to myself, that's a beautiful palette, but I didn't swoon, I didn't gasp when I saw the reveal. I just kind of thought, oh, that's nice. Moving swiftly on. But it's one of those palettes that has kept popping up because all the people who went on that trip have been posting it. So because I've kept seeing it, I guess I've looked at it more, and I can appreciate that it's a very pretty palette, but it's not something that I would jump to get. So Glamlight have been teasing a Lord of the Rings collection, and Glamlight is, I mean, they're churning them out at the moment, haven't they? They've only just done Twilight, and I have a sneaky suspicion that this collection, the palette featured, is going to be very similar to maybe Dirty Martini from them, or maybe even the Jacob palette from Twilight. I can just sense some repetition. It might even have a bit of resemblance to Undergrowth from Cosmic Brushes / Cosmic Beauty, or it might look a bit like maybe like a cross between earthy and botanical, something like that. Those are the vibes that I'm getting from the Glamlight collection teas. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what that looks like when it's released. Would I get it? Probably not. Probably not. US brand, does sometimes come to Monolith, but while I do quite like the quality of the Glamlight stuff I have tried, possibly not enough to pay overly inflated shipping and or taxes and customs. So it's something I'd watch from a distance, perhaps, I think. It's hard, like I'm trying to be mindful as well, but I don't know what's got into me lately. If I decide I do want something, like a lot of the things I'm going through here has definitely caught my eye. I don't know if there's anything here that I'm specifically saying, yes, I'm going to buy it. Oh yeah, no, yes, there are. They're coming. They're towards the end. But I am trying to be more mindful, but I've found myself struggling this month. And we're only on the 11th of the month. I've bought a lot this month. It's bad. Well, it's not bad. At the end of the day, I think as long as you're not getting yourself into debt over makeup and you're being sensible with it, it's the thing that gets me is I try not to overconsume, but sometimes it's just so hard when you see a beautiful palette and you just want it. I don't know. So it's finding that delicate balance, to be honest. It really is. Charlotte Tilbury, Genshin Impact. No, we are not Charlotte Tilbury supporters here. I was barely a Charlotte Tilbury supporter before. I have her setting spray. I do like her setting spray. However, when that setting spray is finished, I'm not going to be buying it. I'm going to make sure that I stock up on this instead. Because we don't tolerate bullies over here. No, we do not. And I will continue to use the Charlotte Tilbury products that I currently have, but I will not be purchasing anything from the brand ever again. So swings and roundabouts. Sometimes there are companies that release stuff and that release things that make you want to buy it, and other times there are companies that behave in such a despicable manner that you never want to support them ever again. So give with one hand and take with the other. But yeah, Charlotte Tilbury. I think when I was first getting into makeup, I bought one or two things. I remember I bought a gloss. I've never bought a Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palette. I think I bought a blusher. And I bought the setting spray. And maybe a lippy. And then anything else that I have from Charlotte Tilbury, it's if I've bought or been given like one of those advent calendars. And they always, like I've got a mini Pillow Talk lipstick, for example. I don't know what's... Okay, so Charlotte Tilbury. So the spray I just held up is a spray from a brand called Trigwell Cosmetics. I would recommend, actually, Robert Welsh has done a really good video where he's explaining like everything that's happened. And it's not just Trigwell Cosmetics. There's another brand who has a skincare line where they've had the audacity to use the word airbrush. And apparently Charlotte Tilbury has sole claim to the word airbrush. So she's gone after them legally, or her parent company has gone after them and effectively bullied them into going out of business. I don't know if they've been able to bounce back. Trigwell, I think, will bounce back. They've got a sale. In fact, I was telling you about how much I've spent lately. I'll show you. So I've got these powder puffs. I've got some mini ones, and I like them so much I've bought the big ones. And speaking of the mini ones, I've got two more. So I've got some peachy ones. which are going to be horrifically stained by the time I eventually get around to washing them. So I bought some mini ones, and these are just really nice for under the eye, and I love how soft they are. So I recommend them from Trigwell Cosmetics. Beauty blenders, because they are on sale, and you can never have too many beauty blenders. I love using beauty blenders to apply my concealer. I just think it gives a really nice, almost airbrush effect. And I think the last item is this blush. So Coral Me Later. And like, full disclosure, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I did a review of Peach Perfect. They did this trio blusher and highlight palette, and I did a review and I didn't like it, and Zoe from Trigwell saw the review and said, terribly sorry you didn't like it, would you like to try some stuff I think you would like? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she sent me a massive box of stuff, and I rate it so much that I've gone back and I've bought more. She already sent me everything I would have wanted. The only thing that was left really was this, and I might go back and buy the corresponding liquid blushes of the powder blushes that I've got, but I really like this. Well, I haven't tried this one yet. It's an out of camera shot. I haven't tried this one yet, but I think this is going to be stunning. Coral Me Later it's called. Yeah, so Charlotte Tilbury, I'm getting going all over the place. So you can see here the Trigwell Cosmetics logo is embossed in the pan, and it's made up of a T and a C. Charlotte Tilbury's logo is made up of a C and a T, and they're complaining basically that it's too close, and people, I guess, might confuse the brands, and they're being childish and bullying, and they've gone after Trigwell Cosmetics because they can. There is no way that I would see this logo and confuse it with Charlotte Tilbury. I don't think I even, like Robert Welsh pointed it out, I don't think I even see the intertwined T and C and think Charlotte Tilbury. Like, to me, the logo is her whole name. And like, people are now saying, oh, exactly, nobody's going to be confusing the brands. It's ridiculous. Yeah, we're not idiots. I think it says more about the consumer if you're seeing this and think, oh yeah, that's from Charlotte Tilbury. It's ridiculous. So yeah, Charlotte Tilbury has now made it very easy for me to never want to buy anything from her again, because she's a bully. So yeah. And speaking of brands I'll never buy from again, Wayne Goss is another one. Not because I don't like Wayne Goss, I love Wayne Goss, and that's precisely why I never buy from Wayne Goss again. I don't know if you've seen, but he's had to step down from his own brand. I'm guessing it's a hostile work environment. I know that he's had some difficulties. He's alluded to that in the fact, but it's reached a head now, and he's had to step away from the brand. So he resigned effectively 28th of March. So anything that's come out since then, I don't know if anything has come out since then, but it's got nothing to do with him. I don't have much from Wayne Goss, but what I do have from him I really enjoy. I've got a blush duo, like a blush highlight duo, and that's really pretty. I never did get one of his eyeshadow palettes, but I don't know, I might go back historic, but then I don't know if he'd get the proceeds from that now. It might be his creative thinking behind it, but I don't know what the proceeds if you buy something from him now. I mean, it's not like I can ask him, pick his brain. I don't know. But yeah, Wayne Goss is another brand. I did think that too. How does that work? I think basically he's at some point or another got some investors, and he's found himself in a position where he's not the what's the word? Something shareholder. Majority shareholder, that's the word. So I think that's the position he's found himself in. It might be even that he's down to 49%, but that 1% makes all the difference. And I think it's just gone down and down this path, and he's just found it too hard to come back. So he's taken the difficult decision to just step back. And someone said in the comments of the video, this is the thing sometimes when you have your own brand and then you decide to step away. Like Pat McGrath, I don't know what she's going to do. I don't think she's that involved in her own brand anymore. She's going off to Louis Vuitton. And yeah, Bobbi Brown, I think something similar might have happened there. She stepped away from her own brand and now does Jones Road. I was going to say that as well, Dawn, yeah. So it's tricky. I think, having seen the experience that some of these big names have had with their own brands, maybe the lesson there is don't have a brand that's your name, because if you're forced to step away, it's very hard to disassociate yourself from that brand. So yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, Charlotte Tilbury, big fat bully, no, not interested, absolutely not. What is next here? Bella Beauty Bar, the Smoky palette. It's the remastered, updated, smaller, created version of the Smoky palette that they had released before. This is beautiful, and you would think I'd be interested. I would think I'd be interested, but somehow I'm not. It hasn't caught me. I still have to try Poison Garden. I've had it, and I'm itching to try it, but I'm trying to methodically go through everything that I've purchased, and I don't just want to jump to Poison Garden. Having said that, I did that with Blood Moon, and I got that at the same time. I think, no, I know why I did that, because they were releasing a palette and I wanted to try Electrum Cosmetics before I decided if I wanted to buy the next palette. So that's why I jumped the gun with Electrum. Jump makeup. I think I'm gonna have to film with it maybe this week, because I am thinking in my mind, like, I don't know if I want to sort of go backwards. I don't think I'd want something like Green Goddess, but maybe I might be interested in Secret Garden, for example. So I will make sure to try it, even just a tiny little chunk of that blue shimmer in Poison Garden flaked off, and I swatched it, and it was incredible. It was like a radioactive glow was coming from that blue. It was stunning, 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 stunning. So I want to bathe in that blue. See, now what do you think of Green Goddess? I like... Hi, Polly! Yeah, I'm trying out a live, just to kind of ease the strain of having to edit a video in advance. I'll have to look. I want to see that. But yeah, I think Green Goddess, I expected it to be more green, but then at the same time I understand why it's not more green, because Secret Garden exists. But the Smoky palette, as pretty as it looks, and as much as I love, I think if it was a little bit more purple I probably would cave, but it's more towards the pink. And not that I dislike pink, I do like pink, but not as much as purple. So I think that's one I would skip. But that's, if you, anyone who is interested, that's $75. And I think that comes out next week. I don't think it's out just yet. Or is it? No, it let me add it to my basket. I think it must be out now. Yeah. I love green eyeshadow. I love it. Green is up there. You know, I sound like a broken record, but blue, purple, green, they are my absolute favourites. And to be honest, if yellow was a more consistently good shade to work with, then yellow would probably be included in that mix too. So yeah, but those are my favourite colours to work with, I would say. MUA Cosmetics has released this Kaleidoscope palette, and originally I scrolled right past this. I noted it, I saw it, and I thought, oh, that's nice rainbow palette, because, you know, we don't have enough of those. And then Cole of the Ball was using it in a video the other day, and I thought, oh dear. And it's £12, guys. £12. And part of me was like, even if only half of the palette is good, £12 is an absolute steal. And when Cole used it, it all looked to be good. And I thought to myself, you can't buy it just because it's only £12. That's not a justifiable reason to buy something. Buying something just because it's cheap is not sensible. But I'm not always a sensible person. So we'll see. Once I've bought everything else that's higher up on my list and I've tallied up how much I've actually ended up spending, we'll come back to this Kaleidoscope palette, because £12 for the way that palette performed. Hey Grace! Yeah, £12 for the way that palette performed is, I mean, bargain is not even a good enough descriptor, really. I think that's spectacular. So we'll see. It's in the maybe. So I've abandoned my yes if money were no object, which seems like a silly thing to put it. It seems silly to put it in that category because it's £12. I'm gonna sneeze. You could, well, that's what I'm thinking. It's £12. It's £12. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. And like for anyone who's just joined, the reason, like, because I also picked up, see, that was a tenner. So apologise if you were here when I said this before, but Beauty Bay are doing that 2 for £10 deal that they, not 2 for 10, 2 for 20 that they sometimes do. And I don't think Botanical was supposed to be in there, but I nabbed this when it was. And when I went back the other day to have a look, because I mentioned it to someone, Botanical was no longer included. And I think I did say, if it goes down to a tenner, I'll pick it up. And it went down to a tenner, so I did. So that's something else that I've bought that I probably really shouldn't have done. But there we go. What else is there? Right, I should probably hurry up because I've got my list here. I'm not doing too badly. I'm not doing too badly. Nomad Cosmetics, the Route 66 palette, and that's going to be, well, no, it is. It's out. It's available. It's $49. Now, this is an interesting one. I really like Nomad. I like Nomad a lot. I really like their formula. I love the theming. I love how much they've improved. And I love that with the theming that they do, there's always a cause and a percentage of the profits is donated to some cause or another that's linked to the palette. I really, really like that. What I don't like about Nomad is that they release something every 5 minutes. And it's funny because before I did this live, while I was eating my dinner, I had YouTube playing myself, and Teresa Mulhern was talking about new releases, and I did think to myself, stop, because a lot of these are things you want to cover. Like, don't let her views taint what you think. But it's not that they were tainting what I think. She's just thinking the same thing I am. It's like, I love you, Nomad, but you need to slow down, please. Yes, sorry, I'm just seeing your comment now, Grace, about Botanical, and yes, £20 is more than sufficient. I don't know who asked for a £42 palette of Botanical, but I do like Beauty Bay's £42 palettes. Can you travel with them? No, it's unrealistic. So I'll probably keep hold of my £20 version because that will be the version that I travel with. But I do kind of like the expandedness of the £42. I do like that. But yeah, Nomad. I do. And something else I like about Nomad is they push the boundaries, I think, with their colour stories. Do I always agree with their colour stories? Not necessarily. The Route 66 palette, while I can appreciate it and think that it's pretty, would it be one I would pick up? Possibly not. Probably not. But then I thought that to some extent about Fairy Tale Europe. But then when I played with it, I was actually blown away with the looks I was able to create. So I don't know if it's one of those things where looking at it, I'm not immediately grabbed, but if I was to get my hands on the palette, I'd be impressed with the looks I could pull out of it. Similar thing with the Vivette palette from Adept Cosmetics. I slammed that palette hard. I was not convinced at all. In fact, I was thoroughly put off. I turned my nose up at that palette, and then and then Adept sent it to me, and then I tried it, and I was like, oh wow, okay, I get it now. I get it. So I don't know if the Route 66 palette would be one of those. Another thing I like about Nomad is often, not always, but often, especially when it's the 18 pan palettes, it's two 9-pan color stories in one overall overarching color story. But in this palette, I don't know how well I think those two halves go together. Individually, if they were two separate 9-pans, I don't know if I'd find it more attractive. But together, I don't know if it's a bit jarring. I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think of the Route 66 palette. I suspect it's one where if I was to get hold of it, I would like it. I like the formula. I love the mattes. I love the shimmers. I probably would like it. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to risk necessarily buying it on the off chance that I don't. So I don't know. Maybe this is one I will keep and buy in a sale. Because I do like Nomad. I do like Nomad a lot. On the whole, they've brought out some of my favourite palettes, to be honest. They really have. So, just, yeah, if anyone has it yet, I don't know. But, so that's the Nomad Route 66. Yeah, see, I think Nomad now, especially, their quality is consistent and it's high. Definitely. I think over one of my favorite indie brands, definitely. I think I've bought quite a lot from them actually at this point, because I went backwards a little bit. Like I picked up Haunted Europe and Ghost Town USA. Ghost Town USA I still need to use properly, but Haunted Europe is one of my favorite palettes, and that's the old style formula, but I really love that palette. I'm curious about the jojoba oil inside the palette, because I hear it's meant to help reduce almost like the dryness or crepiness on the lid. And I'd imagine it also helps to keep the palette itself from drying out as well. So that would be an interesting feature. Sigma Spectrum. This is available on Beauty Bay. I don't think it should be, because it's not even available on Sigma's own website. So I think Beauty Bay have made a boo-boo. And I believe if you throw something else in your basket, you could get, is it 15 or 20% off? Because there's a promotion running at the moment. I have no interest in this Sigma Spectrum palette. It would be a no. I wouldn't buy it at all. Not necessarily because I don't like neutrals. There's a time and a place for neutrals. And I do have one or two neutral palettes, but not very many. I definitely lean more towards the colourful side. But for me, it doesn't have enough shimmers in there. And I've just bought Nearly Natural from Glamonatrix. So there isn't really room at the moment for another neutral palette. Which is another reason why I think, not that the Lancome Cafe Crush palette is neutral as such. It's very mauvey. It's got maybe some red hues in there, purpley hues. So it's the rich palette. It is the rich palette. So let me actually show you this. So yeah, that's not neutral, or maybe you could call it rich neutral. I don't know. But I've got this, which is why the Lancome palette is a skip for me. And it was also, there aren't many reviews on that. I don't know if people aren't really going for Lancome, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's the rich palette. Don't know if I could call that neutral. Not in the way that the actual neutral palette from Beauty Bay is neutral. and then Kyma Cosmetics Bougie Boudoir, which is very similar vibe to the neutral palette from Beauty Bay. And then Glaminatrix is almost like a bit of a combination. It's got them all together. And I decided to go for that because I tried Rich Romantic. I really like the formula. And even though I'm not like a BYOP person, I am coming around to having palettes that are magnetic. I can see the benefits in having magnetic palettes. Yeah, I agree, Dawn. Yes, it is a warm palette and it is pretty. And Dawn, I agree. I think mainstream eyeshadow palettes now, they don't, maybe it's the people I follow. I don't know if I followed different people, but now the sort of makeup bubble that I'm in is the indie bubble. So that's what I see more of, and that's what I see people being more appreciative of. And another thing that made me, like, I don't want to talk too much about it because I've got the scratch that itch coming with Rich maybe on Tuesday. But I think another reason I didn't want to spend that money on that Lancome palette is because it's a hefty price tag, and I just think I'd be disappointed with the shimmers. Having experienced indie shimmers, I don't know that I can go back. There's definitely a time and a place. Like, those kind of shimmers are in the Beauty Bay palettes, and I appreciate them. But what's the most I've spent on a Beauty Bay palette? 16 quid? I don't want to pay £64 for shimmers that make me go meh. So, but yeah, so that Spectrum palette, if you were interested and you wanted to get your hands on it sooner rather than later, go check out Beauty Bay. And as I say, I think it is included in some of the promos that are running, so worth checking out. Kyma Cosmetics Frosted Fairy. Yes. And I think I'm going to try and... I was going to film with this yesterday, but I had a nightmare. I could not find my memory cards. I know by the time I found them, it was really, really late at night. But that's the palette there. It looks a little bit washed out there. But as pastel palettes go, because I have done swatches, I'm impressed. I am impressed. I'm always a bit nervous when people talk about pastel palettes, because I always wonder, okay, but how is that going to look on my skin tone? But this one, good start so far. I've not applied it on my eyes yet. That's coming, but from the swatches alone, I'm pretty impressed. And while we're on the pastel, actually, maybe you can let me know, because what I'm thinking is something else I've bought. I should say before I move on, so that's available now. Well, I say that, I think it's sold out, because when I went on the website to have a look to get all the details, it did say sold out. But when it is back, it's £49, and there's always discount codes knocking about. Gratitude 20, I think, gives you 15% off, so that would be worth using. And the brand posted that, so yeah. And then what I'm thinking, you will let me know, guys, because I have also bought the Danessa Myricks Mini Freedom palette, so that's a yes too. Oh dear. But that was that was a no-brainer for me. She's probably the only one. You know, you've got like Danessa Myricks, Pat McGrath, Wayne Goss, Charlotte Tilbury, like people whose brand is their name. She's probably the only one left who I would quite happily purchase from. But I don't think there's anybody else. Yeah, I think just Danessa. But I have bought that. So would you want to see separate videos on that? Or would you like to see a pastel palette off where I compare the two? Bearing in mind that the Mini Freedom palette is only £6. So I don't know if it's really a fair fight. But let me know what you think. Or maybe I'll do 2 separate videos, and maybe I'll do a short where I do a comparison of the 2 pastel palettes and see which one comes out on top. I don't know. I shall ponder that, and if you have any views on that, then let me know. Beauty Moon Cosmetics X Wilma Fingerdoo. And I've heard about Wilma Fingerdoo because Jan Van has talked about Wilma, as has Erica Conga. But I wasn't following Wilma for some reason. I don't know why. So I've subbed now, and earlier on I watched Wilma's kind of in-depth talk through. And I'm glad I did, because originally I looked at the palette and I can appreciate it and I think it's pretty, but there was something, would I say a disjoint? I don't know. There was something that was making me not want to go for it. But then hearing Wilma talk about the palette and the thinking behind some of the shades in there, you know, you've got the sort of bare colours down at the bottom, which is like neutral row. Because I was thinking to myself, it's very odd. Why have you got that neutral row in there? That's very, very odd. And then you've got like a representation of the trans flag in there, which I think with everything that's going on at the moment is a really lovely tribute. And I think watching that, it's almost kind of made me want to get it, like more so when I hadn't really wanted to get it before. So I'll have a think. So that's coming out on the 15th, and that's going to be £29.50. And I don't have a code, but I know Cole does. I wonder if it's going to be Cole of the Ball, and Erica does. Erica Conga, and I think that's just Erica 15. I don't know, but I'll update when I do my description and I put all the links to everything I'm talking about. I'll put discount codes. If I know of any discount codes for any of these products, I'll put them in. So that Wilma Fingerdo one, I'm tempted. But I'm going to sit, let me see when I've crunched the numbers, because obviously I have bought the Kyma Cosmetics one and I have bought the Danessa one, and I hadn't, like I suspected that Danessa would have a release this year, but she kind of said, oh, I've got something coming, and then it dropped. Which is, I kind of like that. I don't like anticipation of something's coming. Smoke and mirrors and mysteries. Like, no, just tell me. But that was abrupt to me. That was very abrupt. So I didn't have time to put that amongst my budget. So now that I've got the Kyma one and I've got the Danessa one, I'll kind of do my calculations, see if I can also pick up the Wilma Fingerdo one, because I wasn't meant to get Botanical, because I wasn't expecting that to go down to a tenner for quite some time. I've placed that Trigwell Cosmetics order, which again I hadn't really budgeted for, but I wanted to show my support when Charlotte Tilbury displayed her bullying tactics. There's something else I've bought as well. Nearly Natural is obviously still on the way. Did I buy that this month or the tail end of last month? I'm not sure. So I've bought a lot, guys. I've bought a lot, and I should probably rein it in. But then it is my birthday coming up soon, in about a month's time. Can I use that excuse? When your birthday's in a month, can you just kind of say, well, it's my birthday? That's possibly my excuse, and I might stick to it. Right, conscious that it's almost 7:30, so let me rattle off the last couple. Davini Beauty Mingo, $64. I like the green element. Yes, see, yes I can. That's what I'm thinking. If my birthday's coming up, I can buy whatever I like. Okay. Mingo, which for some absurd reason I kept calling mango. I don't know. I know it's a contraction of flamingo, but I kept calling it mango for some reason. But I think now I've seen the colour story, Mingo is more apt and it will stick in my mind more. I kind of like it, but not enough that I'd want to buy it. I think it's too much just pink and just green. And I think if I wanted that kind of colour story, I'd just go for Secret Garden, because there's more to it. So I don't think Mingo would be something I've picked up. I've still not tried anything from Davini Beauty. I very nearly got, was it Currency? That caught my eye, but I never took the plunge there. A Mingo, I can appreciate it, I can look at it and I can think it's beautiful, but I don't think it's one that I would pick up. Would I if money were no object? If money were no object, I'd just get Secret Garden, I think. Plus, I don't know if Davini Beauty's palettes are magnetic, which isn't a deal breaker for me per se, but I probably would just go for Secret Garden because it has that option now. So not that I would discount a palette for not being magnetic, but it's become something that's a nice to have, I'd say. One of the last things, so Narimi, I've not tried anything from Narimi. I've seen a lot of the palettes and I've seen a lot of people use them, a lot of people rate them. I'm very curious. And it's Pegasus and One-Eyed, hang on, One-Eyed something. I think I've missed out the end of the word there. Oh, it is just One-Eyed Count. I thought I hadn't finished writing the word there. They're $43.99 each. Is that a bit steep for the what you get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pans. Has anyone tried the brand? Narimi? Maybe down the line. As I say, not much room for new brands right now, I don't think. But this is one that I keep seeing pop up, so I think eventually I might cave and I might get it. I think so. Yeah. And then, so that's kind of like the last sort of main thing. The last sort of honourable mention, and I think I talked about this in my last new makeup releases, but it looks like it's coming to fruition. And it's the Glaminatrix Tones of Turd palette. Because I've activated my laptop, it's now making that horrific noise. Tones of Turd, they are genuinely going to make this into a palette. And what they said is they're going to have the version, which is the potty version. And then they're going to have another version, which is going to have normal names for people who who literally don't want shitty names in a palette. I think it's hilarious, and I think only a UK or Australian brand would have the balls to do something like that, to be honest. I don't know if an American brand would do something like that. You'll have to let me know, guys, but I think it's a very UK/Australian thing to do. I want to see this actual finalized iteration. As I say, I've just picked up Nearly Natural, so if it's super neutral, I don't know that it's something I would go for. But from the mock-up that they done from April Fool's Day, it did look like it had some green tones in there, which could spice it up a bit more. And like green and brown is actually quite a nice combo. I've brown skin, I love green eyeshadow. I just think it's a really nice combination, really nice. But yeah, I just thought that was a nice honourable mention to have, and a nice funny one to round off new makeup releases with. I've done really well, guys. I've actually gone through my entire list of stuff I wanted to cover, and that includes like the deviations that I made, because I did get a bit rambly and a bit chatty. But is there anything that has been recently released or that is coming up that has caught your eye that you think you're gonna buy? So I think for me, the bits I've bought are Frosted Fairy, which is obviously already here. Oh, I forgot the other things that I've bought which are on the way. Another brand had a sale, didn't they, to tempt me. Titanium Foxes. So I've got the 2 palettes from Titanium Foxes that I didn't have yet. I'd forgotten about those. So yeah, I really have bought a lot, guys. I should rein it in. I don't think I can justify buying any of the maybes on this list. No. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there, guys, because while I have had my dinner, I've got an apple crumble now waiting for me. So I think I'm gonna get that. I get that. I wonder if I've missed anything, because I have been in a little bubble for a while, actually. So I wonder if there are some releases that even when I was collating these, I've glossed over. It wouldn't surprise me. And I think I might have to deliberately avoid some stuff just so I don't see things that I want to add to my wish list. Because Monolith have got a sale, and one of the other palettes that I wanted, I've gone over now, but I will finish momentarily. But one of the other palettes that I'd wanted was Tales of Terror from Wicked Widow Beauty. And now that I know I'm not getting the American Psycho palette, and I do still want to try the brand, I kind of feel like I could get that one because it's one I've said I've wanted, and it's on sale now on Monolith. So I might stretch to that. And then, is it Diveroon Cosmetics? I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But a couple of their palettes are also on sale on Monolith. And I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to pick up Tales of Terror anyway and pay the shipping, I might just throw in one of those, because there's one, is it Witches of the Wildflower or Witch of the Wildflower? I've heard really good things about that. So I'm thinking that I might place a Monolith order. I'll have a think, because that's a lot that I've splurged on. And I think I can only say it's my birthday for maybe a smidge of that. But yeah, I think you'll really like the Poppy bundle. So I had Poppy Quiet. I should have just bought the Poppy bundle from the start. I'm annoyed at myself, but I bought Poppy Quiet and Grackle Chat. And in hindsight, see, now I'm going to wait, because I don't know if going forward Titanium Foxes are going to release palettes in pairs. So I might sit tight now and just wait until the pair is ready and pick them up. That's what I think I'll do in the future. But I think you'll really like the Poppy bundle. Poppy Storm is coming. I've already got Poppy Quiet, and Jay's Joy is coming now, and I think that that's going to almost be like a bit of a deeper version of Poppy Quiet. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on my live. I was paranoid. I think I said it at the beginning. I don't know how many people were there at the time. Possibly no one at that point. But I said, what will you do if no one joins? And I was like, well, we'll just be filming a normal video. Like, there's no one interacting with you then. But this has been quite nice. I think I might do new makeup releases like this in future. Maybe I'll kind of alternate just to give myself a bit more breathing room. And I want to fiddle around with my camera settings, I think, because I don't like it in this orientation. I do want it the other way around, so I'll have to figure that out. But thank you so much for joining, and I'm hoping that I can have a video for you on Tuesday. That will be Scratch That Itch, and relatively normal service will resume. Okay, have a lovely rest of the day, everyone. Thanks again.